Yo, how y'all doing? Oh, well, somebody said good. Okay, I have a request video here. Can you dig it? And, ooh, okay, this is going to be a doozy. And actually, I have this coming from one person particularly who asked me literally the question about doing a video on it. And I've actually had, I think, 3 or 4 people in the last couple of months who actually asked me the same question in a counseling session. Okay, here we go. Let's rock and roll. Loss of sexual energy during spiritual awakening. Ooh. Loss of sexual energy during spiritual awakening. Oh boy. Okay. I'm kidding. All right. It does happen. Or you could actually add in loss of sexual energy during spiritual awakening, or becoming as horny as a two-peckered owl in spiritual awakening. Could go both ways, right? Okay. I've visualized. Getting serious now. Okay. Let me, first of all, go back into the activation of Kundalini, no matter how it happens for a person. Two things have to happen when you have a Kundalini awakening. You have to have a direct stimulation of sexual energy, and as you know, sexual energy is created in the gonads, and it's combined with Kundalini energy. No sexual energy, no Kundalini awakening. It's the bottom line. I don't care how you put it. However, when Kundalini begins, it can begin two ways. It can start off with a really intense experience, and the sexual energy is increased right off the bat, or there's no sexual energy at all that the person feels. It's one and the same thing, just two ways of turning the tap based on need. Let me share something with you. At the age of 38, I had a Kundalini awakening. When it happened, I was meditating, and I was using a personalized mantra that I had created. And I was repeating it mentally, and all of a sudden, I got a very sharp pain in my tailbone. There was a loud pop. You probably could hear it across the street. And suddenly I had heat, burning heat, go up my back, into my head, blow out the top of my head, turned around, came down the front of my body, back to my tailbone, and the process started again. And there were, over the space of about 6 hours, 7 occurrences of this circuit take place. Each time my heartbeat would go up to about 400 a minute, I think. My body was sweating profusely, and I was pretty much up all night. That was the beginning of my Kundalini awakening. However, within a day, there was something very interesting that happened. I completely lost any desire for sex at all. Didn't want it, wasn't interested, didn't even think about it. And the other thing that happened was the appropriate apparatus for that actually became to about the size of my little finger. So I figured I had a problem. I didn't realize I had 2 problems. I had a lady in my life at that point in time who was very amorous. So I definitely got 2 problems. I couldn't figure out which one was worse. The lady or, or not having any desire for sex at all. Anyway, and this can go the other way initially. Now, What happened is after that, and I think I mentioned this in one of my older videos before, is I stayed like that for close to 9 months. I didn't think, want, desire, nor was I physically capable of any kind of sexual performance. That created a major problem because I was in a relationship and I had no way of explaining to my partner what was going on because I didn't know at the time what was going on. And I have to say that this has happened several times over the years in my Kundalini awakening, which is still active now. Another thing that people may not be aware of here, once you awaken it, I know from my perspective, it never goes away. It's always going to be there for the rest of your life, more or less, periodically, or you're going to know it's there almost on a regular basis, but it will streamline and smooth itself out. On the other hand, you could go the other way. Kundalini and sexuality go together. Now, the reason it happened for me that way, and I need to explain this to you, because there were 7 layers of fire, if I can put it that way, that came up, a lot of, shall we say, constructive damage was done to the channels in my body, my etheric body, the sheath bodies within me. What was required was that all of my energies, and that includes seminal flow, be transmuted into what's called, I learned afterwards, a substance that they call in the metaphysical and esoteric material, OJAS, to be used through the body to repair and correct a lot of things that were going on. That's why it was like that for 9 months. And also during that particular point in time, my diet changed dramatically. I went from being a notorious meat eater to basically eating salad and sardines. That was basically it. I know a lot of people go, sardines? You got to be kidding me. No, I'm not kidding you. And along with that, some rather borderline psychotic tendencies for over a year. Now, as I said, after 9 months, this is what happened. Suddenly, I'm sleeping one night and I'm having, would you believe, a sexual dream. And I had what would be called, for the intellectual type and the polite people, a nocturnal emission. For the raunchy people, I had a lovely wet dream. And everything came roaring back. And as I said, periodically this happened throughout my spiritual evolution. Now, never going as long as 9 months, again, but it has happened for 3 to 4 to 5 weeks to 2 months at a time. And if I remember correctly, it's happened several times. So, I also aware that if you had this happen, and usually when it happens the first time, you really kind of go into a panic mode, all right? And a couple of the ladies that have gotten a hold of me have gone into panic mode because all of a sudden they've lost their sense of sexuality. Don't panic, ladies. Don't panic, gentlemen, if that's happened to you also. It will come back once the energy has done what it needs to do within the body. Now, on the other hand, I have heard from people who have said they've gone the other way and they've had felt themselves so sexually aroused it almost drove them crazy. All right. And the reason for that is the sexual energy needs to be stimulated within your body to continue the evolutionary spiritual process. What I politely suggest, if that's happening to you, is it will lessen and go back to normal. What I do suggest to you is don't go crazy. I mean, with expressing the sexuality or the sexual energy with your partner or partners, whatever, and try to contain and not go crazy, like I said, and understand that that will return to a normal balance within a period of time. And this enhanced sexual energy is being used for spiritual processes going on within your body. And again, it will probably happen from time to time again. The other thing that I have found is this, is I have had it the other way too, where it's become extremely enhanced. And I have found in that particular situation, having what's called a full body orgasm, or multiple full body orgasms, is not only the possibility with women, it's also a possibility with men, because I can do it. And I will share it with you, and I have to thank a whole group of ladies for that experience. Is simply because at one point in time I was teaching a meditation group, and as you know, you're always going to have more ladies in a group than you are men. It's the same thing in twin flame Facebook groups. You always have 95% women, and you have a handful of men, and they wouldn't dare say anything too much because they get stomped on by 95% of the women. Well, you can't blame them. But anyways, I experienced in a meditation class one night, because there were 16 women and 3 men, what I call a spontaneous orgasm through the body without ejaculating. And at the same time, I had what's called a brain orgasm. Now, if you've never had a brain orgasm, you have no idea what you're missing. Okay, it is a wonderful experience. It's like having a shower in your head, and it just bathes the whole body with an orgasmic feeling. It's a wonderful thing. And I thank the ladies in the meditation group who facilitated that, and it's simply because of all of their feminine energies that they were expressing at the time. But I have learned from that when you are having an extreme expression of sexual energy, you can, in the meditation, actually reverse the flow. Instead of it wanting to express outwardly, you can actually reverse, excuse me, you can reverse this flow, I found. And how I learned to do this was totally, well, a freaky experience. I can recall when I was single and I had my own house, I'm sitting in the living room one night, I'm watching TV, and I felt a very strong sensation in the body of arousal of sexual energy. And there wasn't any way particularly I could do anything about it, or did I want to. So I just kind of made a little shifting move on the couch, and at the same time, inadvertently, I kind of pulled in on the rectum area, and all of a sudden, all of this sexual energy shot right up through my body, and I had about 3 or 4 orgasms, one after the other in the body physical. I had no idea what I'd done. Actually, what I found out afterward is, unknowingly to me, I had applied what some people call a root lock. And a root lock is that actual mechanism of pulling in on the rectum area, and it pops the energy going right up into the spinal column and up through the body. And you may consider doing that. You can do it in a meditation also while you're relaxed. I was sitting in a friggin' chair, watching television when all of this happens, so it happens spontaneously. The thing to remember is this, is your sexual energy is your youth, your health, your spiritual growth, and your evolutionary process all rolled up into one. And you can drift back and forth between losing it and gaining it back. And if here you are very fortunate, what may happen is during the course of this either it's gone, but more likely when it's there and it's there very strong, if you're fortunate enough to be able to not expend it outwardly, too extensively, and you are fortunate enough to be able to, shall we say, root lock it up. Oh, and I forgot something. When you do the root lock application type thing, you have to take a breath at the same time and pull it up, so to speak, kind of like a root lock, breath. And you breathe up and bring it up. And when you do this, you may be fortunate enough to accomplish something that also happened for me that I call the divine nectar or the divine drip, if you want to call it that. After that particular experience, I started having a a kind of sweet taste in my mouth, and it seemed to come from the back of my throat. And it got so bad that at the time I was smoking, everything I ate, everything I drank always tasted like a really sweet honey-like taste to it. And I had no idea what the hell was going on. And actually, in fact, this went on for 4.5 months, if I can recall. I couldn't eat anything with have any taste because everything tasted like honey, a sweet honey-like taste. I didn't know that I had the throat drip going, or what's called the divine nectar, which was totally a fluke, because I did manage at that time. I was doing some reading and doing some research. I did find that there are yogas that practice this for years to actually get it to happen within them, and I did it, kind of spontaneously by bumbling along like an idiot and not really knowing what's going on, kind of deal. So this is why I'm sharing it with you, just so that you know that to lose it is perfectly normal, and for it to become really, really intense is perfectly normal also. And some of you may have noticed now also that you're experiencing this sometimes after you've had a very strong connection in the etheric realms or the spiritual planes with another person and or being. You may notice this happens also, that you will lose the sexuality or sexual energy feeling in the physical, and you will have it more in the etheric or the spiritual planes with other beings and or your twin flame soulmate, whatever you want to call it, type of thing. Okay. The other thing that I've noticed also is when you have either one of these experiences, it is crucial to maintain a very positive food intake, because you're creating high octane fuel through your sexual energy. You need to be putting high octane food into your body, superfoods. And I don't mean fresh vegetables from the grocery store. That's not what I'm talking about. The vegetables you get from the store are watered down versions of what we used to get, because the nutrient value in them, yes, it's there, but it's not the way it used to be. So some kind of superfood or super, whatever you want to call it, is going to maintain a high content of nutrition for the body, physical, to feed the body while you're going through this very, very important stage. And I can't emphasize that enough. Okay. Now, if there should be any questions on this, or if I can help any one of you, because I have done a lot of Kundalini crisis counseling for people over the years. I'm not an expert, but I do have a lot of self-knowledge that I've acquired, and I have the knowledge that people have shared with me that goes along. And you know where to reach me. You can reach me at our Twin Flame site, and we have all our services there for that. So I hope this has been helpful to you. Hey, comments are appreciated. Take care, everyone. Have a great day.